We'll call the meeting to order of the Capital Expenditures Planning Committee, called here at 5 p.m. Monday, November 18th, 2024. Called fully remote. So I will add the governor's order. So pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner. The joint Zoom meeting link, which was posted on the agenda with a meeting ID of 948-2677-0991 and a passcode 718834. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so for reasons of economic hardship and despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So thank everyone for being here. And Kim, I think I'm going to turn it to you to talk about a review of the capital planning process.
Do you want to wait until next week to see if we have the full committee to do the nominations for chair?
Perfect.
Okay.
So I can get out of this.
Okay. If you're willing to do it, I'll tonight.
Yep.
Well, welcome. So I'm Kim Foster. I'm the assistant town manager. I know many of you, but not all of you. Just my role, I have been supporting this committee for the past 5 years that I've been here. John Steinberg, our finance director, is also on this meeting. I will be transitioning support of this committee to John. When we amended the finance director job description, we moved that over for many reasons. It makes a lot of sense, but he and I will sort of tag team this year. We are, by charter, this committee recommends the capital plan and the capital budget to the town manager for inclusion in the town manager's recommended budget, which is due December 21st by charter. This committee does meet on a compressed timeline, which I understand poses some challenges, but it's a function somewhat of our budget being due very early and just the way the timing works out. So the past couple of years, I think we've streamlined the process to have the departments submit their project requests on paper. Those have been shared with you. Then we invite them into the first couple of meetings to actually present their projects, answer questions you may have. And then typically the third and potentially fourth meetings of the committee are to discuss the projects. We have some criteria that the committee agreed to about 5 years ago that are used to rate or evaluate the projects and are a tool that are helpful in the committee ultimately recommending the projects for funding in the next fiscal year. So I think the process really starts with hearing from the departments, really looking for the committee to ask questions that you have. Many of the projects that are on the capital plan that the departments are seeking funding for in FY26 have been on the plan. The way this is intended to work, it's a 5-year plan. Projects need to start in that 5th year. And then as we move forward, most of the projects that you're going to hear funding requested for FY26 are projects that have been on the plan. They're not new. It doesn't mean a new project doesn't pop up, but we're really it's a planning tool. So it's helpful for the projects to not just pop onto the plan. That being said, there are times when that happens. I do think one of the questions that typically comes up is how much money is available for capital projects. Historically, we've looked to fund maybe 1 to 1.2 million of projects using free cash. And then you will probably note, if you've looked at the sheets you have, there are certain projects that may be funded through enterprise funds. So so for example, golf club. The mowers are funded through, they're proposed to be funding through retained earnings. So that's money that operation has generated. The users of the golf club effectively would pay for those projects. Similar DPW water and sewer projects are funded through the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. So those are users of water and sewer services who fund those. So if anybody has questions, as we're discussing that, but the point I want to make, ultimately, those funding decisions are determined when the budget is finalized. And then the recommended projects are taken to town meeting in March, and town meeting has to vote to fund the projects. So if you look back at the warrant from last year, you'll see the projects that were funded last March. Ian, anything you want to add, having served on the committee for a number of years now?
No, I think we'll go through more. I think right now the first two meetings is really to listen to the department heads present, ask the questions that you have. And then coming off that will be our ability to use the criteria which we'll be sharing to prioritize and then come to a final recommendation on capital expenditures for this year's town meeting.
Okay. All right.
So with that, I probably did jump because you had asked me to, but I don't know that with John, Tom, and Marie, if anybody is dying to be chair or wants to nominate somebody, go ahead and do that. I'm okay to step in as temporary chair tonight if folks are okay with that, but and may wait till we have the full committee here to make that decision at the next meeting.
That sounds great.
Thumbs up, so okay.
Triple thumbs up.
Okay. So I'll continue to move forward then. Lucky me. Okay, Kim, anything else there? Or should we jump right into
Yeah.
Okay,
I think let's jump in. Jen's here, so
Jen, you are on for the Recreation Department presentation of your capital request.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Kirkland, the Recreation Director. I have a couple of requests here. I think I'll start with the golf course. It just might be a little bit more straightforward, which I never thought I'd be able to say, but just for the people that are new or maybe are unfamiliar, in 2021, the town took over full management of the golf course. Prior to that, the town has always owned the facility, but it contracted out the superintendent services and the golf pro services. In 2021, we changed that, and now the golf manager is a town employee, and all of the revenue comes into the Golf Course Enterprise Fund, which was different from how it was previously operated. So these requests for these mowers that I'm going to speak about, the funding sources proposes the retained earnings from the golf course. So meaning revenues that come into the golf course are used to pay for these purchases. Another little disclaimer I like to give is that this came up a lot when we were taking over the golf course is can't DPW just mow the golf course? The golf course is very specialized. There are different mowers for different parts of the course. These mowers that we're asking for are not just, typical push mowers that you use in your backyard. If you've ever been to a golf course, certain parts of the golf course are mowed differently. Some parts need to be mowed really, really short. Others, different levels. So these machines are specialized to do that. So the first request for FY26 is a fairway mower for $75,000. This mower is responsible for mowing probably the largest part of the course, the fairway. We have a 2018 fairway mower now, and when we replace it, it'll be 8 years old, which is just basically at the end of its useful life. Again, it's used to mow the fairway, the largest part really of the golf course. It's this green space between the tee and the green. The second piece of equipment is a trap rake, and this is a rake to rake sand that you see, the sand traps on the golf course. You want to keep the sand in those bunkers, keep it smooth and in place, and this machine helps do that. And that would be $40,000. The current one we have is 26 years old. So these last quite a while, but it'll be time to replace it. But it is time to replace it, and the cost of that is $40,000. So that's the request for FY26. Looking ahead to FY27, we'll be asking for a step cut mower, and this is a specialized mower that can just basically mow the turf very, very close, a real short cut. So again, it's a specialized mower that we need to upkeep the golf course. The car current will be 22 years old at the time of replacement. So we hang on to our equipment for a long time. A lot of the stuff is, it lasts a while, but when it's time to be replaced, we need to do it. Looking beyond that, and speaking with our superintendent, there's a desire to switch to these robot mowers, which they're more economically, environmental. There's a little bit more flexibility. After FY27, we'll be good with our fleet. We've purchased a lot over the past 5 years. And so we really want to take a deeper dive into what these robot mowers could do for the course. We need a little bit more information on cost, useful life, things like that. So I don't have that for you today. I didn't feel ready. But by this time next year, we'll have more of a plan going forward. So right now in front of you is just FY26 and FY27. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jen on the 2 for 26 or the 1 for 27?
Ian, can I just make mention of something for
Yep.
sorry, Marie has her hand up.
Just wanted to know if you're able to purchase electric mowers, if that's a possibility.
So at this time, these are not electric, but those robot mowers, those are, and they're solar powered. So right now, the best practice is still these gas powered ones, but moving forward, as we look to replace older mowers, we do want to try to move towards this robot electric option.
Thanks, Marie. Any other questions? Kim, did you have something?
One of the things, the cost proposals, those are based on actual either quotes or estimates that staff will get from various vendors. So they are real numbers. And just to the question about, if electric has been considered, typically when we're talking about vehicles or anything, part of the process, department heads are expected to review any of the criteria or practices under the climate action plan and to follow any of those, as well as looking at sort of best practices and standards industry-wide. So for instance, DPW, when they look at equipment, they've been successful in the past couple of years of maybe trading in 2 vehicles that historically serve different purposes and finding one piece of equipment that they might be able to change something out and get functionality for both of those. So I just wanted to make the point that there is sort of that regular evaluation and consideration of what's going on sort of in the industry and with technology and improvements to equipment.
Thanks, Kim. Any other questions on the golf course capital expenditures before Jen moves to others? Okay. Jen, go ahead.
So the next one I have is for pool repairs. As you are all hopefully aware, the town purchased the building that I'm sitting in right now to operate as a community center. One of the perks of this building is that it has a pool. When we purchased the building, we knew that the pool needed some repairs. As you're also probably aware, the current plan for this building has been broken up to phases on how we're going to fit out the the building. So phase one is primarily downstairs with the senior center offices and space. And it doesn't include the pool. However, our architects had advised that we could pull out certain pieces of the project that we wanted to kind of expedite and move forward kind of separately outside of the typical the fit up that we're doing for the senior center. So one of the pieces is the pool. And we've done a ton of community engagement over the past year or so, and the pool has by far been an asset that residents are eager to use and are all constantly asking questions about. So we could use the pool for obviously swimming lessons, but other aquatic programming for seniors and adults, informal lap swim. There'd be opportunities to rent the pool for birthday parties and other such events. So it is definitely an asset here that would be used. The ask is $406,521. We did get this is quoted through the architects that we're working with, VH+A. So this would really bring the pool up to operational standards. So this is the pool tank, pool fittings, pool piping, deck equipment, filters. This cost includes all of that. So happy to answer any questions. And Kim is also here and she could probably help as well. Sorry, Kim.
I just want to make sure, so Jen and I have been involved. We're working with the architects, and the focus has been on fitting up the lower level, the first floor of the building, specifically the portion that would serve as the senior center. And we've been discussing taking a phased approach to doing additional work at a later time, including work on the second level. So Jen is in the space, operating programming using the existing space very successfully. But one of the things when the town acquired the building, we did drain the pool. We had the pool drained before we took possession, and we've subsequently had it evaluated. And there are some just general repairs that should be done. And we've taken the approach because we're looking at this phased approach to renovating the building. The pool is something we have carved out and are bringing forward as a capital project. There's two aspects to this. One, by pulling it out from the rest of the project renovations, there's actually some cost savings because you're not incurring some of the overhead of the owner's project manager and some of the additional costs that go along when it's part of the larger construction project. Additionally, this is something that we do expect, once it's in use, as Jen already mentioned, could be a big draw to the community center and to also become something that is revenue generating in the form, Jen mentioned that. So for a number of reasons, we decided to bring this forward as a capital request. This is not a project that has been on the capital plan in years past, and that's because we didn't own the building until earlier this year. But given, we have a strong interest in moving this forward. And I think included in your packet, you don't always get this, but we did include information on the specific, the work that's being proposed that totals the 400,000.
I have a question, but I'm driving, so I can't figure out how to raise my hand.
Go ahead, John.
So this may be relevant to this, it may not be. Do we know what the programming of the pool is going to be, and specifically swim lessons for kids or adults? And then if that's going to be included, is there any grants that we've seen out there that may support the fixing up of this pool that we could potentially either look to or sell the whole deal on? Look, we're going to go for this type of grant, which may offset the cost. Have we looked into that at all, or is that something down the line?
I haven't seen any grants for a pool or any that would relate to this. Oh, Kim, were you gonna?
additionally, we've talked with our architect and owner's project manager because they've been involved in other community centers, seen in just their understanding, this is not something that there are a lot of grant opportunities. So our own sort of looking at it as well as asking folks who regularly work in this space, they didn't identify an awareness.
Great, thank you.
Other questions, Tom, Maria, Barbara? I think if this were to move forward, this one is scheduled to be free cash, using free cash to pay for it. Which we can talk about at a later day if people need understanding of free cash. Marie?
It seems like the pool is smaller than most community pools that I've observed, and I just wonder, I don't know in your outreach how many citizens have actually looked at it and what capacity it has, because I think on the table you were originally wondering if it should be filled rather than used, or maybe you weren't, but I just that's always an option. Certainly when I've looked at it in person and seen pictures of it, it is much smaller than I had hoped for. And so, or, my expectations of what a community pool would be. So I just wonder what the capacity is and if you really truly think that this is going to serve the town's needs going forward.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually think it's a perfect size for a recreation pool, because like we've been trying to educate the public. We're not Boston Sports Club. We're not here, we're not looking for like big lap swimming or swim meets or things like that. We're just looking to hold recreational type activities. So swim lessons, water aerobics, rent it out for a birthday party, you have a swim party, things like that. So I think I've talked with other towns that do have bigger Olympic sized pools, and they're great in some aspects, but a lot of that comes with more headaches as well. So this is actually, if we were going to operate a pool, a perfect size because we can do just exactly what we want to do. It might be, you know what I mean, and not have to deal with, trying to rent out for swim meets and things like that, but we can really be a recreational pool.
We have had a lot of, as we've done the community outreach regarding the community center, the design work, we have heard strong interest in the pool. One of the groups that's particularly interested in this size and depth pool are the seniors. It's more conducive than a larger pool for water aerobics and some other classes that they've expressed an interest in. And just operationally, to Jen's point, it's running a true aquatics program with a Olympic size or lap pool. Operationally, that's a whole different challenge, quite frankly. So we believe that this pool will meet the needs and interests that we've been hearing and trying to reaffirm as we've been doing community outreach.
And just to that point, too, not to belabor it, we have done quite a bit of tours through the building. People have been in the building, and so people have seen the pool and are still just as excited and wondering. A lot of people, too, did take swim lessons here through Boston Sports Club and are wondering if and when they'll be back. So I don't think we've misled anyone. I'm not saying that's what you were saying, but I don't think anyone's expecting an Olympic-sized pool. I think we've been pretty clear about the size of the pool, and people have been in to see it. And it's visible when you come in, even to do another program, there's windows people can see in. So I think it's been pretty public of what size we're working with.
Anything further on this one? Okay. Jen, is that it for you?
That's it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Jen. Ian, Pat was running a little late, so we were just going to flip the order and have Jenny Gingras go first, and she just joined us.
I saw Jenny there. Okay. That's fine. Let's move forward then. So Jenny is going to present on the plan.
Question on this one. Do I recuse myself since I'm on the planning board?
Well, we're not voting on it right now. I don't think you need to at this point. I don't think you need to, but I'll circle back on that.
I don't think so, because you are the planning board voted
Yeah.
rep for this capital expenditures planning. But I think, Kim, if we can check on it, but definitely not here to listen, John, you're fine. So we're not taking any vote.
Sounds good.
So Jenny, whenever you're ready, please jump in.
Okay, great. So I have a change to the previous plan, and it's for FY26. We're estimating about 400,000 for the second phase of the segment 2 of the B wall for the design. Right now, we just completed or close to completion the 25% design, which is the preliminary design of section 2 of the B wall. And we had received grant funding for that. And we had a match for it as well. But for the next phase of that, we would need to get to a final design, 100% design. And based on other studies that we've done and talking to the consultant, we're estimating that to be about 400,000. But we would be looking to go for grant funding for this as well to be able to fund that. And then in FY27, I did change the cost for the construction. Previously, we had estimated about 5 million for it. That had previously been for FY26, and I moved that to FY27. That cost of about 6.1 million is based on the estimation from our consultant that we're currently working with for section 2. So those are the two changes that were made. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Jenny, quick question on my side. I see that the funding source for both the construction feasibility study are similar. So is the thinking that for the construction would be looking at grant funding as well?
Yes. Yes, we would be either looking at seeing if we can get it on the tip or through MassWorks, something like that. Part of what we're contracted with the consultant on right now is for recommendations and to assist us with grant funds. There's numerous sources that we could work on right now, but it would be grant funding that we would be looking to fund the construction under.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So I think maybe just to highlight, and Kim, definitely jump in here, but one of the things in the past we had done, if something was like a grant funding or whatever, we would not have put it through capital planning because the funding's coming from not from in essence, a town source. But the decision really was to put everything through the capital planning process so the town is aware of all of the capital projects that are being requested, whether those are coming from free cash, from taxes, from retained earnings, or from outside grant funding, et cetera, just so there was one place to keep track of all capital projects. So this is one that's changed over the past few years, where prior to that, something like this wouldn't have come in front of this committee. But we think it's a better process for the town to have kind of all these projects go through, even if it's going to be funded from an outside source.
I also think, I think we saw this last year. We needed to leverage, it was a small amount of money. I'm sorry, maybe it was 2 years ago. Just a small match to support the much larger grant amounts. So that's part of the reason we want to keep it in the capital as well. If that were to happen down the road, we contemplate that there are situations where the town needs to make some contribution.
Great, thanks, Kim. Any questions?
Jenny, I'm curious if there might be any long-term maintenance expenses associated with the B-Wall, and if any of that'll fall back on the town.
Yes, so right now we do plan for the town to maintain the B wall in the future. We are looking at our consultants to give us an estimate of those costs in the future maintenance. So we don't have those numbers yet. But for example, we have the Otis Street project, which is section 1. That is not any off-site trails. That's all like town sidewalks, things like that. So they would be handled the same way that sidewalks are currently handled, plowing by the DPW, maintenance, things like that, just like any sidewalk would. So I assume that the next sections would be similar.
Something to keep on the radar. Thanks for that.
I think it's a good question. I think there's, just so folks know, there is a joint select board, planning board meeting coming up in January.
January 16th, yep.
To further discuss. We've got some questions to the select board side. I'm sure the planning board has as well, but just really to talk about the B-wall holistically. And but that's a good point. I think there's also, I'm hopeful that there might be the ability to do some sort of friends of the B-wall or ways to maybe get potential private funding to help support it as well. So it's not coming down to taxpayer money if that's possible. I think that's some of the stuff the consultants hopefully can help us with, what others may be doing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We know we have a couple of residents that are interested in starting a Friends of the Bee Wall, separate from the town, and raising funding that way. So at that joint meeting, we will, update on the efforts that have been made outside of the town staff and town boards and committees.
Right. Other questions or comments? Maybe Jenny, just so folks know, and folks that may view this taping later, do you just want to highlight the segment 2 where it?
Oh, where it is?
Yeah, where it is.
Sure. So I'll start with segment 1. Segment 1 is Otis Street. So it starts at the Route 9 intersection where Otis Street is. So we are improving that intersection and then creating a shared use path that goes down Otis Street. It will then cut across near where Sassacus Drive is. And it'll cut through there. It'll go across the Assabet River and then go past the wastewater treatment plant. And then right now it is the feasibility study, and what we based our 25% design on was going down Meadow Road, meeting up with Milk Street, and then cutting back across parallel to Route 9, but through some properties and some conservation areas, and meeting up with Park Street. So that's section 2. However, we are evaluating an alternative with our consultant right now to not go through Meadow Road. Instead, it would go past, I believe the name is West Meadow Plaza, near where Ocean State Job Lot is. So we're evaluating that as an alternative to look at the feasibility of that instead of going down Meadow Road.
Thanks, Jenny. Any other questions? John, you're on mute. Are you? John, you all set?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just talking to somebody in the room right now. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Anything else there?
And for the public, the joint meeting is on January 16th at 6 o'clock in the Great Hall in the Forbes building.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay. I think you're good then. Thanks for switching around with the fire chief, and it looks like he may be on.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Bye.
Chief Purcell is now the fire department admin.
It keeps defaulting back to that. I don't know why. That's funny. Hi, everyone.
Well, welcome.
Thanks for having me. We to jump right in.
Yeah, so Pat, you've been through this before. I think jump right in. Let's hit the fiscal year 26. We kind of go kind of in order of the. We have our packets in front of us, but if you want to
Sure.
through.
So, fiscal year 26, and you'll also see in future years also 27 and 29. We spaced out the replacement of our utility vehicles that we use. The vehicles are used for a variety of things, such as my vehicle, the deputy fire chief's vehicle. The ship commander is assigned into a Tahoe here on duty right now. The fire prevention people who also respond to calls during the daytime hours during the week. Another vehicle that we use for towing, particularly the boat, the foam trailer, or the both boats and the foam trailer, as well as our trailer for our UTV if that has to go out of town ever. We do our very best to maintain our fleet, and we try to get 10 to 12 years out of each vehicle. They are used pretty much every single day. Right now, I know the ordering time is a couple of years. Once we order one to get it delivered and then outfitted with lights and a radio and etc. And so for fiscal year 26, we were looking for $75,000 to replace one of those SUVs. Also in FY 26, we were looking to upgrade radio infrastructure here in the fire station. And yes, some of that supports dispatch, and I'm anticipating questions about regional dispatch, so I'll try to get ahead of that now. So whether we're going to regional dispatch or not, inside the fire station, we have to maintain radio capability with our own partners in town, other internal stakeholders such as the schools, the police department, public works, animal control, and we also have stakeholders outside of our town that we're accountable to, such as the state police, who we interface with almost on a daily basis on the highways, Fire District 14 communities that us and that we support throughout their network. So we would need some of that infrastructure here. The radios that we have were originally purchased in 2002 off of a grant, and prior to that, I started working here in the late 90s. The ones that were here before that the town bought, I think if my memory serves me right, I had heard in the 70s to 80s. So looking at that cycle, we're requesting 115,000, and that is solely for radio infrastructure for here in our radio room to support the front office here. Just because the dispatch is moving down the street doesn't mean that we wouldn't have somebody assigned to that room. Also, it would serve as a backup if something ever happened at the REC 3 doors away, with the REC being the Regional Emergency Communication Center. And really, it's time to upgrade those radios. They're not supported anymore, and if they do break, we have to buy new ones anyways. We've had a service contract for a long time, and we get the annual updates every year when they're serviced, and it is we were being told that it's time.
So Chief, if I can just jump in there. So this is supporting radios, or is it the antennas, repeater? What?
So it's all part of a system. It's the radios, it's radios. It's a system. So the radio is a radio head that gets mounted in the room. It's the wiring that goes from the room to the big antenna out back. It's the repeater and the transmitter that goes on the site. So when you talk on the radio, it goes out on a transmitter. It hits somebody else's radio or other site, and then it bounces back. This all happens in under a second. It bounces back, hits the repeater, and then defaults it back to that radio head and into the building. So we would hear it. Everything within the fire district in our building. If you've been in here, you hear a variety of tones going off all the time. It's very helpful. We do automatic gate with Shrewsbury, Hopkinton, Northborough, Southborough, So any reported building fires in their town, when we hear that, we monitor them. So when we hear them going out for structure fires, we know we're going, we automatically just go. And conversely, they do the same thing back for us, primarily Northborough and Southborough and Hopkinton. And that's how we get the correct complement of people back. So by us having our own radio infrastructure here that we can hear what's going on, obviously we need to hear what's going on. We're saving a lot of time, sometimes upwards of 6 or 7 minutes just to get out the door between people calling on the phone, getting an automated attendant, getting to the right person, getting the information, transmitting that out, depending on where you are in a phone tree. So we depend on that to have a timely response out of our own building.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions on that? All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the forestry truck. So I originally had that on for this year, and we pushed it back to next year. We're gonna try something in an effort to save the town some money. So our forestry truck is a Ford F550. It has a 250 gallon a minute pump on it and 300 gallons of water on it. Has some variety of forest fire type equipment that we would use, like rakes, shovels, pump cans, hard suction, and we priced out a new vehicle, and that came back at $300,000. The town of Grafton just bought a similar one. They paid the same. Hopkinton bought one recently. They paid about the same. Everyone that we met up with was all ballparking around there. So in our travels of looking at other departments' vehicles, we found a skid mount unit that can bolt to the back of a pickup truck that another town has that is 4 years old, and they no longer use it. They converted that vehicle to their shift commander vehicle, and it's been sitting there. So I inquired about it. I sent my mechanic to look at it. It is in very good shape, and it looks like we'll be able to buy that from the town of Bellingham for $1,000. So when we found that out, we sent our F550 that we have to Bulldog. It's our fire truck repair place in Hopkinton, and has some to go through our truck. We bought that truck in 2000, before I was the chief, I think in 2015, for $7,500 from Northborough. And we were expecting to get 8 years out of it. When we had the truck gone through, it only has 23,000 miles on it. They said that there's really nothing mechanically that they could find that was serious. So I think we're going to buy that skid mount out of our budget for $1,000, take the body off of the one we have here. We have a mechanic that can do that. And if this all works out, you'll probably see the 300,000 drop off for next year and go away. So we're really trying to be good with money, and you know, I feel I don't feel right buying spending 300,000 on a pickup truck that we're going to drive into the woods and like hit trees and etc. with. So right now, this is probably a good alternative for us. I mean, the Public Works was fantastic when we took delivery of this, and they redid the entire body for us, and it's held up remarkably well. So the small amount of money that we put into it, we think we can make it last for a while. Our big expense is it's listed as a water rescue vehicle. So we carry a lot of water equipment. We are part of the Fire District 14 dive team and water rescue team and swift water rescue team. Not only do we do calls in the other 22 cities and towns with that vehicle, we do calls here every year. I can think this year we've already 3 weeks ago rescued 2 people out of Mill Pond that were in a capsized boat. I know that we don't do a lot of calls with this boat, but they're what we call low frequency, high risk type calls. And really, we just need a central place to store our scuba diving equipment, our Mustang suits, our life safety ropes. It should be climate controlled. So when we're diving in the winter, we can go into place and thaw out our regulators so we don't go down a certain amount of time and have like ice in it and have it lock up on us and we develop a problem. We really do high risk stuff that needs a vehicle. The one we use now is an old ambulance. Back when our ambulances didn't accrue a ton of miles on them, we would pass it down and we gutted out the back of it. And that's a 2004. It has about 200,000 miles on it, and it has a lot of mechanical problems. So we were looking for a long-term investment, a vehicle that we could probably get 25 plus years out of. It would probably look like it, just like an ambulance. We were going to go through the same company we get our ambulances through without the EMS components in it. It would just be retrofitted in the back for storage of scuba equipment so we can get dressed on the way to a call, rather than the way we used to do it, putting our equipment in crates and then we would get dressed while people stared at us, knowing that somebody was underwater. We have these banana boats that we inflate with with our SCBA bottles that we can. I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures from us when we rescued the people through the ice on Mill Pond. We deployed that out over the hole. When we were in the hole, we could push people up onto this ice sled and pull them back 2,000 feet to shore. Very important piece of equipment. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that call, and it really needs to be stored in the right environment. So I know that's a big ask. I know it's a low used vehicle, but it's a really important piece of equipment. We do actually save lives with the stuff that's on that truck, and we've done other things to cut costs in that division of all of our water rescue. Like we have a brand new boat that we didn't have to pay for. We got it through Homeland Security, and we fire district. We are fortunate enough to have custody of that here. Same thing with the trailer, same thing with the motor, same thing with the sonar technology that we have on it. But all of these things require support. A lot of the diving, unfortunately, we do is in the winter time when it's really cold. So having a walk-in type vehicle like we would like to get is pretty important to us, especially for the equipment that we're using, and we're in an environment that's immediately dangerous to our own life and health. So ask, but that's a priority piece of equipment for us right now. Questions, or do you want me to keep going? So, okay, in 2027, we had another ask to replace another SUV. Sorry, there's going to be some noise in the background. One second. So we also had an ask in FY27 for an ambulance. We're on a 3-year cycle with ambulances that have been taking historically 2.5 to 3 years to get once we order them. We usually fund that out of our ambulance billing. We have EMS reserve for appropriation account. So they take a percentage of our billing every year and they put that into an account so that we can buy those and maintain our fleet. In FY28, not sure where we're going to be at with the satellite fire station, but we have been actively trying to get land for nothing from the state. We're in an active conversation with them right now. We wanted to put the fire station on the capital plan as a placeholder, so it wasn't a surprise. You will find the information about the need for one in the organizational assessment for the fire department that was done in 2018. That is on our website. You'll find information about that in the town's master plan. And you will also find information about that where it's labeled as a top priority by the select board from a part of the strategic plan that was done by Novak a few years ago. So I've been working on that. I'm trying to be responsible with money. I am hopefully going to get this land for hopefully nothing or not very much. I'm trying to set us up for legislation that's been filed for the towns, for municipalities that have shovel-ready sites where you could, similar to the schools with the school construction projects, they're funding one for municipal buildings, particularly public safety facilities. So we would like to be, once that takes off, we would like to be ready to go to take advantage of that program. But more than not, we just wanted that satellite station on here, so it wasn't a surprise when we were ready to go. We've pushed it off the last few years because we've had difficulty finding land, but really that's the reason why it's there right now. Nothing else for fiscal year 28, fiscal year 29. One more SUV, and then in fiscal year 30 would be the time for the next ambulance after that. I don't anticipate the ambulances being bumped up. We had done that before a few times because of drastic call volume increases. Unless we get another big surge like that, we just actually don't. Right now, we don't have the staff to put up another truck anyways without closing the only fire truck that we have. So I don't see us pumping up the ambulance replacement particularly anytime in the next 5 years. And really, that's my plan.
Great. Thanks, Chief.
Welcome.
Questions from the committee on any of the topics? Now there's a lot there, but any questions or comments? Across, I don't see anything at this point. And again, just for the committee, if questions come up after this, don't feel like we don't have the ability to ask more questions. We can always.
No, I don't feel that way at all. If you need me to come back, you can come back. If you want more information, I'll tell you what, I don't have the final quotes on some of this stuff yet, but as they do, I'm happy to provide them to the committee. Like, so it's down to the dollar. A lot of places are reluctant to provide them early because cost escalation has been a big thing. And prices have been changing a lot. We just paid for ambulance. Our last ambulance came in. We spent every nickel of what they gave us in town meeting just on the ambulance. We had to take money out of our budget for the radio, actually a few $100s for the ambulance itself, and then all the equipment. So the prices have been kind of like all over the place. Not in our favor, unfortunately. But I can get any information as I go forward and as it gets closer to a vote.
Great. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
So any questions for Chief Purcell from any of you? Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thanks.
Okay. I think we had Conservation Department, but they had to postpone until our next meeting, I believe.
Yes.
So the only final thing on our agenda is to set the meeting schedule, which I think we have tentatively set, but I'm going to turn it back to you.
Sure. Thank you. So one of the things that's happening tonight, Advisory Finance Committee, and tomorrow night, the Select Board will be hearing proposals for projects that would be supported by the last of the remaining ARPA, American Rescue Plan funding that the town received. In fact, one of the conservation projects and also one of the projects the police department plan to bring forward through capital may be funded through ARPA. So the timing worked out well. We'll have the latest and greatest for you next week. But then you will also hear from DPW and the school department. We had hoped to hold the first two meetings in person tonight. Just it didn't work out. So I would like to still propose that we meet in person next week. And I just wanted to circle back and make sure that in fact works for everyone. And I think it looked like 5:30 was a better time next week.
That works for me. Tom, how about for you?
Man, I just confirmed.
Yeah. Okay, John? 5:30 on the 25th.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my schedule. I have a meeting at 7 that's virtual. So as long as we can end by 6:45, I should be fine.
Should be good. Awesome. Barbara, I'm just going across my thing here.
Would it be Monday again, the 25th?
Yes.
That's Monday. I would have to wait and see. I don't know what Christine's work schedule is, but I should know it by tomorrow morning when she gets back.
Okay.
Okay.
And Marie?
Yes, that's fine. In
Perfect.
person.
Okay.
So Kim, right now, let's see what Barbara gets back to, but I think we can still, hopefully we can all be in person, but we'll definitely plan on being in person. If we have to go hybrid, we can do that as well.
I think we can accommodate Barbara remotely without having to post for hybrid. So let's plan on that 5:30. So I will get you the rest of the project sheets, as well as you'll see the summary sheet that was in your packet. It's an Excel sheet. You will see that with the totality of the requests. And we'll be able to show you exactly current thinking, the amounts that would be requested through different funding sources as we anticipate them at this time. So, okay.
Wait, do we have a location or are you still to get that for next Monday?
I'm anticipating upstairs in Memorial Hall, but I will finalize that and send that out. I just want to make sure that Westborough TV can record it. So that's just the advice. One of the things, if you have time or would make time between now and next Monday to just look at the criteria that I shared, the rating criteria. I just like to have some discussion historically how we have done that after you've heard from all of the projects, or all of the departments, the end of the next meeting. We would come up with a deadline by which you would submit your ratings back to me. You're only rating the projects slated for FY 26. So I'll send you a matrix. You can plug in your scores, and then I will compile everything and then get that back out to you ahead of our meeting, which is proposed right now for the first week in December, so after Thanksgiving week. So we can just talk through that some more, but if you at least have a chance to look at those, the categories and the criteria, I'm happy to have more discussion about that next week.
Great. Questions on that?
You had mentioned the first week of December, Kim, just so I can put it on my calendar. Sketch it anyway.
December 2nd, I
It
thought
looks
was.
like the 2nd at 5:30, and I think we anticipated going back to Zoom for that meeting.
Great.
I'm open and willing to do Zoom or in person. I think it's really whatever works better for the committee.
Okay, let's talk about that next meeting. So folks take a look at it.
All right.
Anything else from the committee or questions? Comments? I think next time we'll talk through the rating process. If you get a chance to look at it, relatively straightforward, but I'm sure there'll probably be some questions, but it really is, we've set criteria and, you use your interpretation of how that fits, and then we'll utilize that as we look at projects in terms of prioritization based on the average rating that comes across for the various projects. But we can talk more about it once folks have a chance, if they haven't, to review it prior to next meeting.
Okay.
Great. Anything else before the committee?
My only homework is to look at that capital project evaluation criteria. That's it.
Yep. Until
Sorry
we
to
send
try.
out the new meeting packet, and then you can look at those materials too.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Great. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second, Dolan.
Beltich. Okay, so we have to do a roll call vote, unfortunately. So, Tom,
Dolan, yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
John,
Gelsich, yes.
Marie,
Sorensen, yes.
and Johnson, yes. So I think that's 5-0, 5 being present. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And see, it was very easy to be chair, so someone think about taking this role for the next meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.